A scary story from Reddit. Title: My friends and I found a house in the Blackwood Reserve that isn't on any map. If you see it, don't stop walking. r/no sleep, posted by user UrbanXHume 4 hours ago. I'm typing this on a burner phone from a motel room about 3 towns over from where I live. My hands are shaking so bad I keep hitting the wrong keys, so forgive the typos. I need to get this down. I need a record of it, just in case Elias comes back, or whatever looks like Elias comes back. To give you some context, I'm an urbex, urban exploration, photographer. It's a hobby I picked up during the lockdown, finding beauty in decay, forgotten history, all that poetic bullshit. Usually I stick to the known spots, old factories in the Rust Belt, abandoned theme parks, the occasional asylum if the security is lax. I have 2 regular partners, Elias and Sarah. Elias is the risk taker, the guy who brings the crowbar and cuts the fences. Sarah is the historian. She does the research, checks the property records, and makes sure we aren't walking into a meth lab or a structural death trap. Last weekend, Sarah found something weird. She was scouring satellite imagery of the Blackwood Reserve, a massive stretch of dense forest in the Pacific Northwest, looking for old logging camps. "Look at this," she'd said, turning her laptop toward us. There, in the middle of a sea of green pines, was a gray speck. We zoomed in. It was a roof, a slate-gray gambrel roof, like something off a Dutch colonial. "There's no road," Elias noted, leaning in. "No driveway, no trail." "And no record," Sarah added. "I checked the county assessor's maps going back to 1920. That plot is designated as undeveloped wilderness. That house shouldn't exist." Elias grinned. The grin usually meant we were about to do something stupid. "A ghost house? We have to go."
It took us 4 hours to hike in. The woods in Blackwood are suffocating. The canopy is so thick that even at noon the light is gray and watery. The air smelled of pine needles and wet rot. We followed the GPS coordinates, hacking through underbrush that seemed to fight us every step of the way. Around 2 p.m., the forest just stopped. It was like a circle had been drawn in the dirt. Inside the circle, nothing grew. No grass, no weeds, just hard-packed dead earth. And in the center stood the house. It was beautiful in a wrong kind of way. It was a 2-story Victorian, painted a pristine, creamy white. That was the first red flag. Abandoned houses are weathered, peeling paint, broken windows, sagging porches. This place looked like it had been painted yesterday. But the architecture was slightly off. The windows were too tall, stretching weirdly like a grimace. The front door was off-center, shoved uncomfortably close to the left corner. "It looks preserved," Sarah whispered. She didn't take her camera out. "Maybe a squatter?" I suggested, though I didn't believe it. A squatter couldn't maintain a Victorian mansion 10 miles from the nearest Home Depot. Elias walked up to the porch. The wood didn't creak. "Hello?" he shouted. Silence. Not just from the house, but from the woods behind us. The birds had stopped singing. The wind had died. "I don't like it," Sarah said. "The proportions are wrong. Look at the chimney." I looked up. The brick chimney was twisted, spiraling upward like a corkscrew. It made my eyes water just looking at it. "Door's unlocked," Elias called. He was already pushing it open.
We should have turned back. I know that now. But the curiosity is a disease. I pulled my camera up, checked the ISO, and followed him in. The smell hit us first. It didn't smell like mold or dust. It smelled like copper and ozone, like a handful of pennies in the air before a thunderstorm. We stepped into the foyer. It was fully furnished. There was a grand staircase, an intricate rug, and a grandfather clock. "This is insane," Elias said, sweeping his flashlight beam around. The windows were tall, but the glass was thick and wavy, letting in almost no light. "Everything is mint condition." I walked over to a side table to get a macro shot of a porcelain vase. I zoomed in through my lens, focusing on the texture. I lowered the camera. Guys? Yeah? Don't touch anything. Why? Elias asked, reaching for a book on a shelf. Because it's not real. I touched the porcelain vase. It wasn't cold and hard. It was warm and slightly soft, like hard wax or cartilage. Elias pulled the book off the shelf. He opened it. What the hell? He turned the book around. The pages weren't paper. It was a solid block of white, fleshy material with lines drawn on it in black marker to look like text, but the letters were gibberish, loops and whorls that hurt to look at. It's a prop house, Sarah said, her voice trembling. It's like a stage set. No, I said, looking at the wallpaper. The floral pattern wasn't printed. It was veined. It's a mimic. A what? In nature, I said, my heart hammering against my ribs, some predators mimic harmless things to lure prey. An anglerfish uses a light. A pitcher plant uses sweet nectar. You think the house is a plant? Elias laughed, but it sounded forced. I think the house is the mouth, I said.
As soon as I said it, the grandfather clock chimed. Dong! But it wasn't a metallic resonance. It was a wet, guttural thud, like a heavy bone hitting a slab of meat. Thud. We're leaving, Sarah said, backing toward the door. Now. We turned around. The front door was gone. Not locked, gone. The wall where the door had been was smooth, seamless white drywall. The wallpaper pattern flowed uninterrupted across it. Stop screwing around, Elias, I said, though I knew he couldn't have done this. I didn't do anything, Elias yelled. He ran to the wall and hammered his fists against it. The wall didn't sound hollow. It sounded wet. And then, right where Elias punched it, the drywall bruised. A purple-yellow contusion spread across the white paint. Upstairs, Elias gasped, backing away from the bruising wall. Maybe there's a window upstairs. We need to break a window here, Sarah screamed, grabbing a heavy brass candlestick, which felt disturbingly like a bone, and swinging it at the front window. The candlestick bounced off. The glass didn't shatter. It rippled like jello. The stairs, I commanded. Go. We ran up the grand staircase. I noticed the banister felt sweaty under my palm. We reached the landing. A long hallway stretched out in both directions, far longer than the house should have been from the outside. There were doors on either side. Try them, I yelled. Elias kicked the first door open. It wasn't a room. It was just meat. A wall of red, pulsing muscle tissue, pulsating slowly. The smell of copper was overwhelming now. He slammed the door shut. Oh, God, oh, God. Here, Sarah opened a door across the hall. This one looked like a bedroom, a canopy bed, a dresser, a vanity mirror. We piled in and slammed the dresser against it. The dresser was heavy, but it felt weirdly pliable, like stiff rubber. We stood in the center of the room, panting. What is this? Sarah was crying now. What is this place? It's digesting us, I said, the realization settling over me like a shroud. We're inside something's stomach. It just looks like a house to keep us calm until it's ready.
Elias was pacing. He looked into the vanity mirror. My reflection, he whispered. I looked. The mirror wasn't reflecting the room. It showed the room, but different. In the mirror, the bed was a mouth, the rug was a tongue, and we weren't standing there. Don't look at it, I said, grabbing his shoulder. That's when the floor began to soften. It started near the corners. The hardwood planks lost their edges, melting into a pinkish slurry. The acidic smell rose up, burning our eyes. The window, I pointed. This room had a window overlooking the backyard. I rushed to it. Unlike the downstairs glass, this one looked rigid. I smashed it with my camera body. It cracked, a spiderweb fracture. Help me, I yelled.
Elias and Sarah grabbed a heavy chair. Together we rammed it against the glass. Crack! A hole opened up. Fresh, cold air rushed in. "Go, Sarah, go!" I lifted her. She scrambled through the jagged opening, cutting her hands on the glass, and dropped to the grass below. "Elias, you're next." I turned around. Elias wasn't moving. He was standing in the middle of the room, staring at the floor. The floor had dissolved into a thick pink liquid that was rising up his ankles. "Elias, move!" I screamed. "It feels warm," Elias said. His voice sounded distant, distorted, like he was speaking underwater. "Elias!" I grabbed his arm. His skin came away in my hand. It peeled off like wet paper, revealing raw muscle underneath. He didn't scream. He didn't even seem to notice. He just looked at me with glassy, vacant eyes. "I think I'm home," he said.
Then the floor surged. It wasn't liquid. It was a tongue. A massive, muscular ridge rose up and wrapped around his waist. I pulled. I swear to God, I pulled until I felt something pop in my shoulder. "Let me go," Elias said. But it wasn't Elias's voice anymore. It was deeper. It was the voice of the house. The room groaned. The walls started to contract, squeezing inward. The ceiling dipped low, dripping clear, viscous slime. I looked at Elias. Half of him was already merged with the floor. His legs were gone, fused into the pink mass. His torso was sinking. "Run," he mouthed. This time it was his voice, a final spark of clarity. I scrambled backward, diving through the broken window. I hit the ground hard, rolling onto the dead earth. Sarah was there, dragging me up. "Where's Elias?" she screamed. "Run!" I roared. We sprinted. We didn't look back. We tore through the tree line, ignoring the branches whipping our faces and the brambles tearing our clothes. Behind us, a sound echoed through the woods. It wasn't a house settling. It was a burp, a deep, wet, satisfied belch that shook the ground. We ran until our lungs burned and our legs gave out. We collapsed near a logging road about 5 miles away. A trucker found us, an hour later, walking down the center line like zombies. We told the police we got lost hiking. We told them Elias had run off after an argument, and we got separated. They've been searching for 3 days. They won't find him. But here is the worst part. The reason I'm writing this. I'm in this motel room. Sarah is in the bed next to me, finally asleep. About an hour ago, I went to the bathroom to splash water on my face. I looked in the mirror above the sink. I saw the bathroom behind me, the shower curtain, the towels, the door. But in the mirror, the door was open. And standing in the doorway, in the reflection, was Elias. He looked perfect, clean clothes, healthy skin, but his eyes were pitch black. No whites, no irises, just void. He smiled at me in the mirror. He held up a finger to his lips. "Shh." I spun around. The doorway was empty. The door was closed and locked. I looked back at the mirror. It was normal again, just my own terrified face staring back. But now the motel room smells. It's faint, but I know it. Copper, ozone, and the wallpaper. I swear the pattern just moved. I think we brought a seed back with us. I think I'm going to burn this motel down. Update. I woke Sarah up. I showed her the wallpaper. She saw a vein pulse in the floral print. We are leaving. We are going to drive until we hit the desert. Somewhere dry. Somewhere nothing can grow. If you are hiking in Blackwood and you see a pristine white house, turn around. If you hear a friend call your name from inside, cover your ears. And if your house starts to smell like pennies, get out. Edit. People are asking for coordinates. Are you insane? I'm not giving them. But I checked the map again. The area where the house was, On the satellite view now, it's just trees, but there's a patch of gray pixels that looks like a glitch or a scar. Sarah is coughing. She says her throat feels fuzzy. I'm throwing the phone away now. Goodbye.